Previously on Princess Serena, not Princess Serena, we explored Italy for 2 weeks, and now we're going on a Mediterranean cruise. I'm gonna grab a couple things, croissants, something light, and then we are driving an hour and a half to the cruise port. I'm on a solo adventure grabbing breakfast for everybody because I value food over sleep and they value sleep over food. Mind you, they just came in 2 days ago, but that would never stop me. Daniel and my mom told me about this place and how I had to have the freshly squeezed orange juice and the croissants. They did not disappoint, especially the freshly squeezed. Superb. So we took a cab to the cruise. We went on the Norwegian Escape. I've been on a couple Norwegians before. The reason I picked this one wasn't the cruise itself, but it was about the itinerary because there is not one sea day. If I'm coming all the way to Europe, I am not spending a full day in the middle of the ocean. We came on early to have a real breakfast before it closed, and this is my mom and Sterling's room. I cannot imagine the breathtaking views they're gonna have once we go into all the different ports. No matter how big a ship is, I always run into my family on them, I swear. We gave each other time to unpack alone in the room so it wasn't cramped.
Guys, eating my third meal of the day, and it's only 10 to 1.
This was actually the only time we ate in the buffet because we always had lunch off the ship and dinner in the dining room. Okay, these photo frames, I'm obsessed. Some cruise lines make animals out of the towels in your stateroom, but apparently Norwegian only does it for kids because they did not do it for us. On my last cruise, they did it for me. Big misread, NCL. I'm all about matching my socks to the occasion, so of course I had to wear my anchor socks today. So this is our room, and what's very cool is you could obviously it'll say at home if I'm in there because I have to put my card in, and then you could put do not disturb or a makeup room. So here it is, the very fancy interior cabin. This in here. This is it, the grand old suite. Interior cabins make you see windows as luxury. Hi, hello. There absolutely has to be a mirror or everyone would get claustrophobic. But at least we don't have to pull up the bunk beds. Interior cabins can, believe it or not, fit 4 people. So if there is a third or fourth person, they'll bring it down every night. These tubes saved my life the last 2 weeks. It was just so much easier to bring out my stuff, but still not unpack, but know where everything is without tearing my whole suitcase apart. My bed, and then some stuff that I unpacked, and a TV, which I will never be using, because this room, as you can see, you don't want to be in more than showering and sleeping. But yeah, this is our closet. Obviously, we needed to ask for more hangers there. As much as it looks like there's no room whatsoever, I think they fit as much as they could. Look at all of the shelving here, and I didn't even use this, and there's this whole thing. So here's the washroom. I could barely take a step either way when I stand in the middle here. But A+ on the shelving space, and the shower was the hardest pressure of the entire trip. But yeah, leg 2 of the trip has officially commenced, and let's go to the bathroom. I don't think I'm going to vlog the cruise portion very much. So yeah, all the stops, all the ports, all the cities, I will continue showing you. My pins are filling up, and I even have some on the other side. A couple of them I brought from my last trip, and then most of them are new. But this is my newest acquisition, Latitude's Rewards Bronze, because I have been on 3 Norwegian cruises now. So I guess the third one, you're in the bronze tier, NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line. But I'm on a hunt for one that says Norwegian Escape, so wish me luck. I found it where the photos were, so I guess the towel frames distracted me. And what's very interesting, and I've never had before, is there's 2 different cruises simultaneously happening at the same time. So for me, it's day 1, and I got on, technically it isn't Rome. It's people that got on 4 days earlier. It's actually day 5 for them, and they got on in Barcelona. So when we go to Barcelona in about a week, they are getting off. It's great. I know if my mom or Sterling are home, without even having to knock. So knock with confidence. Hello. Hello. Sterling found this military NCL pin in his room. Last time I played Deal or No Deal on NCL, my grandma's barcode actually got called. And I went up with her.
So Hyla, are you ready to play?
Yes, ma'am.
Audience, are you ready to play? Let's do this.
Although we didn't get called up this time, we were the biggest winners in the audience because we won $50 the prior game and a free photo the second game. And it shows nobody else got higher. We are going to Capri. We absolutely heard the ship dock. I'm gonna ask if my mom did in her room. So I woke up before my alarm, but that's okay. I'm really excited to go because I didn't have a chance to do a day trip from the Amalfi Coast. This is a very unique trip where like kind of zigzagging all over the place. Like it's not making sense because like I was literally right here. Like we're in Naples right now. But I was in Naples like 4 days ago. And then also again like 7 days ago, I think, or 6 days ago. I don't know. But yeah, I'm really excited to wear my lemon dress that I got in the Amalfi Coast. The fish in the hallway swim in the direction of the front of the ship, which is very smart, so you know where you're going. They stayed midship, so they didn't hear a single thing this morning, whereas we were forward, so we heard everything when we docked. We bought our ferry tickets to Capri, didn't get them in advance just in case we were late or it was raining. So we were lucky that the ferry was leaving in 2 minutes, but we were unlucky that one of the engines blew out and a 45-minute journey turned into an hour and a half. And as you can see, it was so rocky. We were so nauseous, but you know what? Nothing that a delicious Italy lunch cannot cure. We had bruschetta pizza, yum. It was actually so crowded, to no one's surprise. So to escape the crowds, I thought it'd be a fun idea to go up and find a view somewhere. After a few minutes, we bumped into people coming down and we asked them if there's a view up there. And they said, we heard there is, but we didn't make it up ourselves. We took the chance, we went. It took about 40 minutes to get up there. By the way, Daniel and Sterling did not join us. Instead, they went to Pompeii for the day. So my mom and I had a girls' day. There was a cute little town waiting for us up here, not just the view, though it was a lot more crowded than anticipated. And we did find out later that there was a cable car to bring you up here. But I wouldn't trade our adventure for the world because there was such a sense of accomplishment looking at this view and being able to say, wow, we really did that. Like, look how high we are. We had a deeper appreciation for what we were seeing. So we thought the way down was going to be much easier, although it still was physically. It proved harder mentally because somewhere along the way, we did not know how to read a map and we got lost. On the way up, we just crossed the road, but on the way down, we somehow ended up way further and had to walk on the road. It was giving major Amalfi vibes if you saw part 1 of this trip. And time was of the essence because I had to make it back to the ferry at 1:45. It was the latest time slot that wasn't sold out before the cruise left. But honestly, in hindsight, I'm really glad we were forced to leave earlier than I wanted because then we had more time in Naples to actually explore it beyond where the ship was. My mom double, triple, quadruple, quintuple checked that this ferry had 2 engines, and it did. It ran smoothly. Sterling and Daniel recommended this area in Naples that they went to earlier, and all the little alleyways were so cute. Naturally, we had to have a second lunch. I mean, when in Italy. And Naples is known to have the best pizza of the entire country. And when I tell you that this was the best pizza my mom and I have ever had, I think I'm underselling it, quite frankly. We love finding pins that aren't just screen printed. These umbrellas are so ducking cute, am I right? As I was walking back to the ship, I found an absolute must-have for me. A bucket hat, ? Never owned one, but this one matched my dress from Amalfi. And my mom did some shopping at a store that matched her name because my mom's name is Barbara. My mom got lemon soap and a hat because what mother-daughter day is complete without matching? Good morning, Lizzie McGuire. You are an outfit repeater. First full day somehow. We are docked in Sicily and we are taking a train because we're going to Messina, but we're going to take a train and go to Taormina. Daniel's gonna join us today, and Sterling's still sick, unfortunately. So he's gonna tap this one out. As soon as you leave the cruise area, you're swarmed with cab drivers trying to convince you need like a 30 euro cab for a 20-minute walk. No thank you. While walking to the train station, we bumped into some fellow Canadians, and great minds think alike because we were on the same train going in and coming back. It was about an hour ride, and it was such a stunning one at that, with all the water the whole time. This is my mom and Daniel's first train, but this is my 10th, so they're in with an expert. Taormina is a hilltop town, so we had to take a bus from the train station to get into town. The bus was only €1.10 and the train was €5.50, and that just proves you do not have to pay hundreds of euro to have a beautiful adventure off the ship through cabs or through cruise excursions. Of course, it is a balancing act of having enough time to adequately explore the town more than you're on transportation, but also enough time on the way back that you don't feel stressed about missing the cruise. But for this view, that planning was well worth it, and it couldn't have been a more beautiful day. After about an hour of exploring the town and its cute little shops, we wanted to find a lunch place with a beautiful view. We saw a menu posted right next to these really narrow stairs, so we went up, and wouldn't you know, it's another Michelin mentioned restaurant. We had one at the prior leg of the trip. I have a knack of accidentally finding these. My mom said this was the best minestrone soup she's ever had, and Daniel said it was his best pasta, and it was truffle pasta, so good taste. It's been my favorite meal every time I order it. So we didn't have time to actually go to the ancient theater because we had to head back, but that's what it would have looked like. We still had to bus to the train station, make our train, then walk back to the ship. So we had to make our way back to a store that my mom bought shoes at that had shoes on hold for her. We had to take a cab to the train station because the next bus would have been past our train. I'm honestly impressed she has the confidence that this is gonna fit in her suitcase, but they're nice anyway. Italian trains look nice, but they also feel nice because they run so smoothly. Took our cruise's very sparkly elevator to the pool deck to enjoy some views and watched as the cruise left the port. Before heading to dinner, I went to my mom's balcony to enjoy this beautiful sunset. And since tomorrow is a way more relaxed day, we looked at what was on the itinerary for tonight and we decided to go to Wheel of Fortune. We didn't play, though we were solving from the sidelines and figured out one of them was my name.
Venus and Serena Williams is the correct answer.
Has your name in it. Pietra Serena.
Serena's making it, and I'm not talking about myself in the third person. We did not escape the Serenas. Another Serena. Are you kidding?
You are winning the $500 gift card to FD Jewelry.
One letter off. My mom is Barbara L. Wearing my third white dress of the trip. I am going to breakfast with my mom, and for the first time in 18 days, I am not in Italy. I am actually in Malta. Never been. Very excited. Unlike the previous 2 days, we had to be on the cruise pretty early by 1:30 p.m., so we definitely did not have time to venture away from the ship area. But Daniel and I both did agree that this was the nicest stop once you got off the ship out of all of the port cities. Through my research, I knew the Upper Baracca Gardens was an absolute must. That's where we are, and I actually really liked the muted color palette against the water. It was gorgeous. Valletta felt very distinct from Italy because of the lack of color on all the buildings, but I actually liked the change. I mean, it has to be nice for the country to have its own Monopoly game. Sterling's finally feeling a lot better, and it looks like Malta's celebrating with a Sterling store. I mean, there's a lot of Sterling stores out there because of sterling silver, right? Love a Canadian shout out there with the flag. I never thought that a Minion would make such an adorable Kipling bag. It's actually perfect. It's like their little overalls, right? The pocket. We could see the ship from here, so I wasn't kidding when I said I didn't want to go too far from it since it left so early. It literally did not leave our line of sight. So we took the elevator back down. It was quite a high one, and these pigeons were going at it. It was very interesting to watch. Uscita was another Italian word I added to my repertoire on top of grazie and prego, because between all the transportation and cruise signs, I've seen that word at least once every day. Since I had a full day ahead of me, but it was still raining, so I couldn't swim, I wanted to check out some areas on the ship I haven't had a chance to. So this is the adult only pool area, and at night it's the dance floor for the parties, so it is appropriately named Spice H2O. Later we had dinner and a show, and my mom and I checked out some of the art. A lot of it was actually Disney. They were so lively, but my favorite was actually a more subtle Disney moment with the Frozen one because it focused more on the landscape, and they had some of Mickey and Minnie in different places. The Grease one was really cute. The natural light painted on this one is so pretty. The ship's maiden voyage was on my birthday. How cool. So we found a backgammon set.
Why?
We're at the library on a cruise.
Nobody's here.
We saw the show Choir of Man, and it was so cool. Before the show, they had the audience come up and get free beer. We're not beer drinkers, but it was interesting to see. And they had this pre-show thing where they were stacking cups. It was very high energy. It actually plays in the West End in London as well. And it's about the community of a pub called The Jungle. And they were so talented. It's a jukebox musical, and I highly recommend you see it if you get the chance. I caught a coaster during the show, and then we wrapped up the night by dancing the night away. This room that I always had to pass to get to mine always had what they were doing on their little whiteboard. It was such a cute idea. Today almost felt like a sea day because majority of it was spent on the ship, so it was sort of nice to be able to enjoy it while still exploring a new country. But tomorrow we are back to Italy. I'm honestly impressed. It took me until day 18 to forget to do a good morning mirror video. We're on the island of Sardinia, which is known for their crystal clear, blue, gorgeous, vibrant waters. But we didn't go far enough away from the ship to see that because like yesterday, we're leaving pretty early, this time at 2:30. I really like seeing the buildings through that arch. There you go. It's still morning. There's my fit. Same difference. This area is called St. Remy Bastion. The view looked really familiar. I couldn't put my finger on it, but then I looked at Daniel and it hit me. He's from Arizona. I always grew up going there. And the color palette of this view absolutely reminds me of all the rooftops there. We found an elevator to take us down, kind of like yesterday. It was so cool seeing the buildings fade out of sight and only seeing the trees. This violinist was so good. YouTube, please do not mistake it for the studio version of Señorita. Do not copyright me. This is the bottom of St. Remy's. It is so gorgeous, the architecture. I loved walking around this city. You could see the cruise from there, although it felt very out of place aesthetically. Of all the port cities we've docked in, this definitely was not worst case scenario of being kind of stuck there because of the early departure time. We couldn't go out further because it was actually really lovely. This pizza was so good and so cheap out of a literal window. Can we make that a thing in North America, please and thank you? Ordered bruschetta as an appetizer on the ship every night. It was that good. Then I changed into white for the glow party at Spice H2O.
1 minute until the experience called low.
Everybody come closer.
It really felt like I was counting down to the new year.
That's shades.
They're really out here putting synonyms for glow. I'm obsessed with the camp of it all. Our cruise director, 11 out of 10.
Selection wrong. Next, atmosphere.
There was a full 5-minute intro to the party.
DJ, stand by.
And then with his hand movements, he was like summoning these flags to come out. Like, it was wild. You just had to be there. I was just cackling the entire time. They passed out glow sticks to wear, and then I guess you would also call these glow sticks for us to wave around while we're dancing. This had the biggest turnout out of all the dance parties for sure. When Ed Sheeran was playing, I told James, like, oh my god, it's Daniel's brother. Daniel and our cruise director. Let's
Give it up for Daniel!
He didn't let anybody else go up on the table with him. Got to sleep in today after that late night. It's perfect because we only docked at 11 a.m. So I enjoyed a relaxing morning on my mom and Sterling's balcony watching as we approached Spain. We docked in Palma and it was really nice. We got to see their beautiful church while in the cab because we're not staying here since we have more time on our hands before the ship leaves today. Palma is a city on the island of Majorca and there's a cute little town a little bit a ways from here called Sóller. So we took the train to get there. Unlike all the other trains I've been on this trip, it's not Italia Rail. It's a historic train. It's over 100 years old and it's designed to go a lot slower so you could really enjoy the scenery. It was a tad cramped in there, but the views more than made up for it. The windows were all open, which is really nice, so you didn't have that glare of the glass. This is without a doubt the most scenic train I've ever been on in my life. Like the buildings and the mountains there, so beautiful. If you ever find yourself on this train, pro tip, sit on the left side because a lot of the time we did have an obstructed view of the scenery. We walked towards the middle of town. There was a nice church and a cute little square and a few alleyways to explore. It wouldn't take you more than an hour. There's my fit check of today. I was surprised to find a hotel in this tiny town, but I guess it makes sense. Locals probably come for the night sometimes. It was just such a cute town surrounded by mountains, and we actually sat in the middle of it all to have lunch. We got to see the local trolley pass by every so often. It was just such a lovely and cute day. I'm so happy we went here. Unfortunately, the train going back was sold out with the time we wanted, so we took a cab. We walked back towards the cruise. It sucks my mom couldn't join us today. She wasn't feeling too well, so she took the day to rest. I ended the day where I started it, on my mom and Sterling's balcony, watching the ship leave Spain. Well, I shouldn't say leave because we're heading back there tomorrow. Alexa, play Barcelona by Ed Sheeran. I keep forgetting to film my good mornings, but good morning. We are in Barcelona, Spain. Look at this. I'm at my mom's balcony. Supposedly, that is the church up there. Can you believe you can see it from here? It looks like a rainy day. We can't luck out with the weather every day. Let's try to make our Park Güell ticket time. It's not looking so good.
A few moments later.
Change of plans. We're not going anywhere. The new fit of the day. My mom and I played backgammon to pass the time. Feel free to follow the sun instead of a schedule. Well, where's the sun to follow? I don't know. About 3 hours later, the rain died down, so we hopped into a cab to go to the famous Sagrada Familia.
And the next year, finish the tower, the Jesus Tower at the middle.
It's going to have 18 towers once it's completed. It's actually never finished its construction since it started in 1882, not 1918. And it's projected to finally finish in 2026, but at this point, your guess is as good as mine. Though, once it is finally done, it's projected to be the tallest church in the world. Even though we missed our timed entry due to the rain to go to Park Güell, they still let us use the tickets because they weren't sold out for the time we finally got there. So without knowing it, we made the right call months ago when we decided to get tickets to Park Güell over the inside of the church, because we would have, of course, also missed the church time, but unlike Park Güell, it would have been sold out because that is way more competitive to get tickets, so we would have wasted our money there. I really enjoyed walking around Park Güell despite it being a gloomy day. I honestly think it added to the charm of it. Something about walking through the trees under the clouds felt very cozy to me. This was so aesthetically pleasing to look at. The palm trees, the people the size of ants just overlooking all of the buildings, and the church to the left almost blending in. There were quite a few staircases, and naturally they piqued my curiosity, so I went up one. You got to enjoy the view from even a higher viewpoint here, and there were some very unique buildings. They were giving Epcot Pavilion. I don't know why. I cannot put my finger on it. Please let me know in the comments if you can. There were stairs that led even higher, but I had to head back down because we had to grab lunch and go back to the ship. My mom said it was the best rice she's ever had in her life. No photographic evidence though, because apparently it was inhaled. If you recall at the beginning of the cruise, some people got on in Barcelona, which means there's a whole new set of people waiting for us on the ship that just got on. We're taking a tender into France because the port is too small for our ship. I booked us for the earliest one out the day before, but then there was a mix-up. But my mom pulled through and not only got us on the first one, she got us on the one for the highest level suites. Wait, so it's only Quebec that cares enough to change the acronym to PFK to be Poulet Free Kentucky instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken? That is so funny. There's a train in Cannes, France that takes you to Monte Carlo. It was almost like taking the subway at home because there was a stop every 5 minutes. It was only €2.50 per person to get on, but it absolutely was not like the subway because it was above ground and gorgeous, and passed through Nice, France, which I so wish we had time to stop, but we were only here for a few hours. It took about an hour to get there, and just like that, we were in the second smallest country in the world, Monaco, with the smallest being Vatican City, which we went the day before the cruise. When I think of Monte Carlo, I think casino, James Bond, Selena Gomez with a British accent, but I don't think of this gorgeous view. I love that this pin has the 4 aces, and speaking of, we are entering the casino, though we just came to look, we didn't come to play. It was so beautiful inside, and there was randomly a backgammon set on display. Now that's a game I'd like to play. I got pasta for lunch because this is the 3rd consecutive day that we're not in Italy and I'm getting withdrawals. We walked towards the water to see all the glamorous yachts. I could just melt into this view, both figuratively and literally because of the heat. I forgot this morning's mirror fit check video again, but I'd say this is a pretty cool place to show you my outfit. I'm wearing my dress that I got in Venice at the beginning of my trip again, and I'm heading back down to the train station. We just missed a train, so we had to wait about 40 minutes. I think this station is actually so pretty with all of the lights on the ceiling. We had to go straight to the tender because it was one of the last ones, so no time to explore France. It does not warrant a new pin for my collection. I didn't even bother looking. I find it such a weird concept that I casually passed through a country and did not experience anything in it, and it did not involve an airport. But something I had to experience twice was the Choir of Man. I had to go see the second showing. It was just that good, and I want to record some of my favorite parts for you. Then we danced that Spice H2O like tomorrow's alarm doesn't exist. We're back in Italy and technically at our last stop, but we are docked here overnight. We're in Livorno, which is a pretty good gateway to other nearby Italian cities. We took the train to La Spezia and transferred to the Cinque Terre train. I thought this had to have been done on a day that we don't have a time constraint because of all the logistics of the trains between the 5 villages. We went to Monte Rosso to have lunch. You would have seen in part 1 that I've been here before, but the last time I kind of just came and went, and this time I actually stayed on the beach for a couple hours to relax. Then we hopped on a train 2 towns over to the one I skipped last time I was here, Cornelia. The wait for the bus wasn't too long to get to the town. I'm realizing that these hilltop towns are among my favorite of the trip, like Ravello and the Amalfi Coast, and this was immediately my favorite of the 5 villages in Cinque Terre. I love how the town was like tight little alleyways with some sneak peeks of the view here and there, but you had to walk through the town to see the view in its entirety, and it was breathtaking. Since I only found 3 pins in this style 2 weeks ago and 2 today, it feels like I completed a pin set. All this pin hunting is exhausting, so I needed some gelato to replenish my energy, of course.
What a view.
We took the train one stop over to Manarola. It was very fitting that the 2 pins I did find today were the 2 places I revisited, Monterosso and Mandarola. I tried a lemon-based pasta. It was delicious. And if this view looks familiar, it's because it's the exact same restaurant I went to 2 weeks prior with my dad and Linda. We collectively decided that having dinner in Cinque Terre was worth the risk of missing our train to Livorno and getting on to the next one. But we lucked out, and the train back to La Spezia was at 6:54 because we didn't know if it was going to be a half an hour wait, a 5-minute wait. This is the first time I arrived at a train station in the dark, actually. And then from Livorno train station, we took a cab to the cruise. I booked a pretty early train ticket because I wanted to make sure our last full day of the trip was a full day. I feel like Livorno was very much part of our trip, allowing us to go to a couple places, so had to secure the pin. We took the train to Florence, which was about an hour and a half. I was here in passing a couple weeks ago, but this time I got to explore it, including its yummy cafes. I had a delicious croissant. Then we walked over to the church, and it's as beautiful as I remember it 5 years ago. The Duomo's architecture is unbelievable. There's a reason why this city was my favorite when I went with my school. The ceiling inside was stunning. Then we walked over to admire some more beauty. I got to go into the synagogue. I didn't go last time I was here, so I'm really glad I got to experience this. Shout out to my cousin Daniel for finding it, and shout out to me for finding this kosher restaurant. I was so excited to have lunch here. I had chicken schnitzel. It was delicious. We had to start heading back to the train station, but not before looking at the Duomo one more time. It really brings me back to when I climbed this and then the bell tower back to back. I cannot believe I did that. Our adventure was far from over for today because even though this train does say Livorno, we are getting off a couple stops before in Pisa. Italy's train system never ceases to amaze me. Like, Livorno is a tinier town and yet it's directly connected to Florence and other major cities. The train ride was 50 minutes and then we walked another 20 minutes from the station to get to the tower to take the quintessential photo. I climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa last time I was here, but this time we had to quickly hop on a 15-minute train back to Livorno to get back onto the ship. And just like that, I am already packing to leave. Our favorite waitress from the dining room, Fred Elisa, was at the buffet this morning.
Would you like to try? Apple third over.
When she came to my table, she said this is Serena to her coworker and then said no tree nuts, no shellfish because she remembers my allergy.
Have a great day.
Saying goodbye to a cruise is never fun, but seeing Fred Elisa made it my favorite last day because she's as sweet as that apple turnover was. We stayed on as long as we could because our flight was only at 2, so we got off at 9. Then we took a cab to the airport. We had to take a shuttle between terminals, so we got one more glimpse of Europe before heading back home. We said goodbye to Daniel at the airport because he was actually staying one more night at an Airbnb close to it since his flight was the next day. We stayed in the emergency exit row, so there was no seat in front of us. The TV was kind of attached to the seat, and you had to bring it up. It was interesting. I was watching Moana fighting for her life in the ocean, and then we were crossing the ocean. Here's an overview of all the pins I got during the second half of my trip, and a look at all the places I went to on my 10-night Mediterranean cruise. I made a diagram of all the places I went to over the last month and how I got there. Clearly, I thought that wasn't exhausting enough, so I went to a Sabrina Carpenter concert the next day in Toronto. And as always, take care of yourselves and have a magical day. Bye!